Welcome back to another Mock Draft Tuesday. It's Mocko Tuesday today, and we're going to kick things off with the Raiders at number 1. I'll tell you, I've done all of this in advance, as I always do, mostly do, and I'm very comfortable with the first 16 picks. After that, we might change some things on the fly, but Fernando Mendoza makes sense as the number 1 overall pick here. He seems to really be the only option. You know, maybe if there was a team motivated enough to move down, maybe the Raiders could consider a package. That's not something that's currently being discussed as far as we know. So we can just pretty much lock in Fernando Mendoza as the number 1 overall pick. The Raiders desperately need a quarterback amongst a lot of other things. And there happens to be a really good quarterback in this class. That's Fernando Mendoza, and he ends up being the number 1 overall selection. Now, this is part of how the mock draft gets somewhat screwed up, in my opinion, down the second half. Quarterback's a really valuable position. Super valuable. We often see quarterbacks that maybe we don't expect to go in the first round, go in the first round. And that brings Ty Simpson into question because he's definitely good and had some really great moments last year. The second half was not as good. But does someone like his potential as an NFL starter and deems him worthy of a first-round pick? I don't think it's impossible, even if I don't view him as a first-round type of player at this moment. I don't know. It makes things interesting. We'll see where that goes, but it's an idea. At number 2, I'm going to go with Ruben Bain. Thought about this one for a while. So several months back at this point, I moved into a new place and I needed a new mattress. That's why I was ecstatic to partner with today's video sponsor, Bear Mattress. They upgraded my quality of sleep, my quality of life. They have so many different premium mattresses to choose from, all fiberglass free, all shipped conveniently to your door for free. The quality of these things is outrageous. I've been sleeping better. I've been feeling more energized when I get up in the morning. You cannot mess around with sleep. It's one of the things you do the most in life. It's super important. You need that sleep quality. Bear Mattress obviously understands this, which is why they have their own Bear Sleep Quiz that matches you to the perfect mattresses based on your sleep preferences, based on your body type. For me, that ended up being the Bear Elite Hybrid. I think it's been the right choice. I've had nearly a year of experience at this point, and so many years sleeping on mattresses under my belt, I'm an expert at this point, and you can feel the difference when it arrives. It comes in a box. It's easy from that point. You just open up the plastic, you let it inflate for a couple of hours, and you're good to go. You're going to enjoy your Bear mattress. You have a 120-night sleep trial to test it out to see if you like it. Between their limited lifetime warranty, their financing flexible payment options, they've got you covered in any way you want to go about it. So please upgrade your sleep. Go down into the description. Go to bearmattress.com/Bengal. Use code Bengal and get 40% off your Bear mattress and 2 free pillows. This is currently a better deal than what's being offered on the actual site. So make sure to use my link down in the description. And thank you to Bear Mattress for sponsoring this video, because I think they really have about 4 options. And if we wanted to get real crazy, maybe like 5. Arvell Reese, Ruben Bain, David Bailey, one of the receivers. That is, I'm counting as one option, a receiver. I also think the idea of trading Breece Hall on the franchise tag and drafting Jeremiah Love is not absolutely out of the question, but we're probably not going to see a team take a running back at 2, even if Jeremiah Love is a top 2 player in the draft. Really, really talented guy. But that's if you wanted to get really crazy. I don't think that's going to happen. But if Breece Hall doesn't get an extension, running back's a need. Maybe the Jets would trade down, even though they have 1 million picks already, and still end up with Jeremiah Love. But I don't know who would be trading up for anything at this point. But I don't know. I'm going to go Ruben Bain here. He's been disruptive. He's explosive. He's powerful. The real thing working against him is the arm length, and that's going to be a point of contention. But he's so powerful. I don't know. The tape is king. He's been disruptive. The thing is you can say tape is king, but then it comes to, well, is that going to work against bigger and better and more athletic in the NFL? It may not. It's not in college. It's not whether you win or lose. It's how you win. Is it translatable? I think Bain is just a rare exception where it doesn't really matter if the arms are short. He's so good at closing that distance so quickly and getting his hands into the chest of the offensive tackle. I mean, that's the name of the game for Ruben Bain, is speed to power, drive back tackles, make plays. Like, he's a pressure king. It's just with maybe lack of elite bend off the edge, is he going to turn into a production king? But hey, we'll see. I think you can't really complain about him as the number 2 overall pick in the draft. I know a lot of people think he's probably more likely to go 4 to 12 even. I don't think 2's out of the question when you consider just how dominant Ruben Bain has been at times this year. Cardinals at 3. I'm going to go Spencer Fano. It's something I've talked about a lot. And tackle, like quarterback, a really, really valuable position. You look at the Cardinals, like, could they consider something on the defensive line? They could consider it. I don't think it's exactly their biggest need. They really need quarterback and tackle, in my opinion. Those are like the 2 big standouts. Could they consider linebacker? Yeah, but are they going to go Arvell Reese or Sonny Styles here? It's a possibility. It just feels like tackle's much more likely. So you're looking at either Spencer Fano or Francis Mauigoa. And Fano seems to be the guy with the best chance to stick at tackle among those 2. Might make him the first off the board, but I love Mauigoa as a prospect. I think he will be able to play right tackle in the NFL. Not really too concerned about it. So it's kind of like an either or for me at this point. As we get to the Titans at number 4, I'm going to go Arvell Reese. I think you bring in Robert Saleh. I think he will absolutely appreciate not only the athleticism of Arvell Reese, but the versatility. And I think you look at some of these great 49ers defenses. Obviously, Saleh was there, and then he was a Jet, and then he went back to the 49ers. But the linebacker play with the Niners was always great. And I think if you want to consider Arvell Reese to be a linebacker, that's great. He can do some of those things. But also, his potential off the edge is really intriguing because he's such an athlete. He's been limited in the number of true pass rush reps in his college career. But when he has had those, he's really flashed. He has been. He, again, is elite athletically. The closing speed is just fantastic. And I think if you can develop him as a pass rusher, you might have a truly elite talent here. And, that takes time. It's a lot about hand usage and counter moves. And Arvell Reese doesn't exactly have that fully developed at this point, but it would be rare for a guy like him to have it fully developed at this point. Limited playing time off the edge, but the potential with him is limitless. The play strength is phenomenal. The overall athleticism is just great. Love Arvell Reese as a player, and I think he's going to the right spot here to a team that desperately needs help on defense. Yes, receivers a need. I don't mind protecting him, Cam Ward, more on the interior line at least, but I think Arvell Reese makes a lot of sense here. He'd be playing off the edge for the Tennessee Titans. Giants at number 5. Going to go Francis Mauigoa, something we've talked about a little bit on the channel already. And, with Jermaine Illuminor being a free agent, with Mauigoa potentially being able to play guard as well, Jackson Dart does a good enough job of putting himself in harm's way. Don't add to that with poor offensive line play. Now, the Giants did get better under Carmen Bracillo, who's now not going to be retained as the offensive line coach. A little bit perplexing there from John Harbaugh, but we got to choose to trust the process as Giants fans. That's what I'm doing. And I fully respect that, but it could be a huge loss. Maybe Jermaine Illuminor ends up following him wherever he goes. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. But the Giants are not guaranteed to retain Jermaine Illuminor. And even if they were to, it's not like guard is fantastic. So is 5 a little bit early for a guard? Yeah, it is. You're seeing like Quentin Nelson go that early for a guard, and that's it, right? However, if you think Mauigoa has a chance to play and start at right tackle, which could be an available position, even if you keep Illuminor on a short-term deal, maybe 2 or 3 years, or 1 or 2 years, Mauigoa could start at guard and then kick back out to tackle. You could try that. So the versatility could be valuable here for the Giants as well. I think there's a chance he ends up going in the top 5. Giants obviously could consider Caleb Downs, one of the receivers. All 3 of the top guys are still available. I mean, Peter Woods maybe even in this range. Sonny Styles, if I didn't mention him. One of the corners, obviously, Jermod McCoy, Mansour, Delane. Like, they have options, but we're going to stick in the trenches today. At number 6, have the Cleveland Browns. Going to go Carnell Tate. Keep him in state. He is the first wide receiver off the board, and with his ability to get down the field, track, and go up and get the football in the air, his route pacing, really, the way he's developed as a route runner over this past year has really been fantastic, because I wasn't blown away by it in 2024, but 2025, a step up. And yes, Jeremiah Smith is in that same offense, leading to less bracket coverage on Carnell Tate, more one-on-one opportunities, but he's a truly talented player in his own right. I don't think we're going to ding him too much just because he happens to play within the same offense as the truly, like, the best wide receiver prospect we've seen since Julio Jones or Calvin Johnson, right? I mean, he's a one-of-one type of player. Jeremiah Smith is incredible, but Carnell Tate still very good. And I think there's a chance he's wide receiver 1 off the board. And I think the Cleveland Browns are a perfect situation for him to go to here at number 6. Desperately needing wide receiver. The top 2 tackles are off the board. Just kind of makes the most sense in my opinion. Commanders at number 7. Gonna go David Bailey. He might just be best player available at a premium position off the edge. He is arguably the best true pass rusher in this class. So if you're going to take an edge rusher to the Jets at number 2, there's a strong argument for David Bailey or even Arvell Reese. Like, the top edge-ish guys are very interesting. Reuben Bain is the edge, but is he interior defensive line guy? Arvell Reese is the edge, but is he a linebacker guy? And then David Bailey is the edge, but is he a 3-down player type of guy? But he's the most true edge in this class. Just a little bit smaller, 6'3", 250, not, the typical big time, like 6'4", 6'5", 260 plus, like nobody's Myles Garrett, right? But David Bailey, if he even becomes 70% of Khalil Mack, who is like 6'3", 250, this is a phenomenal pick for the Commanders. At number 8, and that's not a true comparison, it's just similar size, and Mack went at like 5 overall, 4 overall to the Raiders in 2014. I think 5 overall. At number 8, we have the Saints, and I'm going Mekhi Lemon. Obviously, you guys, if you've been watching the channel for a little while now, Lemon's been a huge favorite of mine throughout this draft prospect and getting into watching film for the 2026 NFL draft prospects. Lemon is really hard not to like. The explosiveness is not insane, and the size is not insane. But as I've talked about, and this is to where we start to beat a dead horse a little bit, because you're going to hear me say things I've said, but people are new to these mock drafts all the time. They don't know about these players. Lemon is 5'11", 195, but he plays a lot bigger. Like, he's 6'2", 210. He goes up and gets the ball fearlessly. Like, there is some Jackson Smith and Jigba to Mekhi Lemon. Amon-Ra St. Brown with the USC connection. Like, he is an undersized, aggressive, run-after-catch, fearless receiver that is pretty good as a route runner, has such a good feel of how to manipulate the blind spots of defensive backs. I love him as a player, and I think he's going to end up being quite a great player. It's a great fit for him with the Saints because you have that field-stretching outside receiver in Chris Olave. Mekhi Lemon can play on the outside, but I think he can be a demon in the slot as well. And, you can be your team's best receiver in the slot. We've seen guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, even Justin Jefferson, Jackson Smith and Jigba. These guys move all around, and it's wherever you can find the mismatch and create opportunities for the offense. That's where these play callers and play designers are going to put you and create those mismatches and just figure out a way to get the ball into the hands of your best player. And that's what Mekhi Lemon can potentially be for the Saints team. Chiefs at number 9. Dude, I'm sorry. It's Jeremiah Love again. I know, like, number 8 has been a popular spot for Jeremiah Love recently. I don't know that I love that as much as some other people do. But, I think Love is going to end up going in the top 10 or 12. Somebody's got to draft him. He is a top 2 or 3 player in the entire draft. The Chiefs need running back. Like, this is best case scenario. I feel like for Kansas City, you stick and pick and add, the best non-quarterback in the entire draft. Maybe the best player. Like, there's an argument to be made with Jeremiah Love in that regard. He is just a home run hitter that can beat you in multiple different ways, whether it's as a runner or a receiver. Love is so good. So I know it's boring to be like, oh, mock draft, it's Jeremiah Love to the Chiefs again. But if you're a Chiefs fan, like, it's, oh no, my lobster is too buttery, my steak is too juicy. Like, oh, Jeremiah Love again. Like, this is good. As we get to the Bengals at number 10, gonna go Caleb Downs from Ohio State. Maybe the best player available. And the Bengals have needs all over their defense. Downs is a culture changer here. Gets to stay in state just like Carnell Tate. But Downs goes down from Columbus to Cincinnati. Really, really good player, but he's kind of like a box safety. But he's so instinctive. His downhill trigger is so fast, so quick, so explosive. He is a sure tackler, and he's not the worst going back either. This is a really, really good safety prospect that is worthy of a top 10 pick, even as a safety. I think this is a type of guy where he comes in and immediately makes an impact. Dolphins at 11, another team that needs help all over their defense, but particularly in the secondary. And the top 2 corners are available. Going to go with LSU's Mansour Delane. The only thing he really has, in my opinion, over Jermod McCoy is that we saw him in 2025. Jermod McCoy was the best corner in college football probably in 2024. Yeah, really strong argument to be made about that. Like, maybe, I mean, I love Jahdae Barron, hook him, but Jermod McCoy was right there at least. So of the draft eligible players, he was by far the best 2024 tape. Maybe that's what I'll say. Leonard Moore from Notre Dame was also awesome, but not draft eligible until next year in the 2027 draft. Delane was a good player at Virginia Tech, was one of the prized transfer portal ads for the LSU Tigers, and then was immediately their best player on defense. I mean, he was just fantastic. Maybe their best player overall, actually. Really, really good. You couldn't score on this guy. He was locked down. As I've said, has the great ability to mirror and match. Like, the arms may not be super long. He may not test, in the 4.3 range, but he's athletic enough. He's got good enough size, and his actual fundamental ability to play cornerback through technique is awesome. So could this be a guy that goes in the top 5? There's a possibility. I think his range is more likely around the 11, 12, 13 range. And he kicks it off here with the Miami Dolphins, who really need to upgrade the position. I'd love to find a way to get him off the board earlier. But as I've said, I mean, this is similarly to the Jeremiah Love Chiefs pick. If he's available, it's the pick. Sonny Styles to the Cowboys at 12. It's just tough to get a linebacker just like Caleb Downs. Tough to get a safety. It's tough to get a linebacker into the top 10 because we just do not see it very often. If there were ever a time, it would be with Sonny Styles. He has rare size, rare movement ability for that size. 6'5", 240, former safety, and the movement skills have not gone away with his transitional linebacker. But he's not just a safety playing linebacker. That's just to illustrate those skills from when he was in high school as a defensive back. He's got these great movement skills, but he just kept growing. But he is a true linebacker. He is not afraid to play in the box, to fit the run, to fill lanes, to stack and shed blocks, to hit. He doesn't miss tackles. He is an elite linebacker prospect. But it's just, who would legitimately consider him in the top 10? I think you absolutely start it. Ceiling. Cardinals at 3. Like, could the Jets? I don't know. 2 seems a bit early. 3 is even unlikely. I think 4 is unlikely. And then maybe the Giants. Like, that would be a very good pick for the Giants just because they need linebacker really badly. And that's about the range where it would make sense. The Commanders, the Bengals maybe. There just are not that many landing spots for Sonny Styles. There are not. But he's so good. Good players fall. That's the thing. Just in this draft class where there are so few blue chip players, maybe they don't fall. Maybe teams just say, hey, you know what? It's the best player here. It's our highest grade by a pretty significant chunk. Would we rather the, 8 out of 8 player at a position that maybe we don't need as much, or the 7-5 at a position of need? Like, if we're just going to take the worst of the two players just because it fills a position of need, is that really how we want to build our team? And a lot of teams don't do that. They take the best player available, and contracts of players at what seem to be good positions are always expiring. Players are always getting injured, and good players find a way to play and see the field. So I don't know, but Cowboys, not really so much of a need. They're not worried, oh no, we have so many good linebackers. How is Sonny Styles going to see the field? Not really an issue for the Dallas Cowboys. They really need linebacker, and Sonny Styles is a great one to add. Rams at 13, going Jermod McCoy from Tennessee. I still think he's going to go high. Amazing 2024. Doesn't play in 25. Doesn't play. Doesn't see the field. Recovering from a torn ACL and maybe other things within the knee, but torn ACL for sure. And apparently was ready to go at some point late in the season for Tennessee. Was practicing with them, and they just ultimately, collectively, supposedly, allegedly, made the decision to not have Jermod McCoy play and help Tennessee to a potential college football playoff berth, which they did not make. Maybe McCoy helps them, maybe he doesn't. But it seems like he is going to be ready to test either at the Combine or his pro day. So if the medical's clear at the Combine, whether he tests or not, the Combine is super important for medical testing, maybe more than anything else, and the interviews and the on-field plays a role in that. But even if Jermod McCoy doesn't run, even if he doesn't do any of the on-field workouts, the 2024 tape was elite. If the medical's clear and completely check out, I don't know why he's not going to be the top half of the first round pick. To a team that so terribly needs corner, it's hard to not have Jermod McCoy to the Rams here at this spot. Ravens at 14. I'm keeping it from what I've had it, but it just makes sense. Vega Ioane from Penn State, plug-and-play starter here for the Ravens who could really upgrade either guard position. And I know Daniel Faalele, Pro Bowler, what? Center could be a need as well, but I think Linderbaum's going to at least get franchise tag. So, and there's no center to take here. But he's going to be a starter right now. What else could the Ravens consider? Something across the defensive line. Look at Matabike. Not sure he's ever going to play again. Yes, Travis Jones was extended. It's still a need. They still need more help off the edge after trading Odafe Owe to the Chargers, which was, I feel like, an under-talked-about trade. But the Ravens, which D-line are you taking here? Keldrick Fall, Cassius Howell, Akeem Mesidor, maybe we're starting to talk about from Miami, could be in play. But Ioane just makes the most sense. Could be the best offensive lineman in the class. Best true guard, as I've said now for at least a month or so. He is very, very good. Emmanuel Pregnon, quite good as well. Chase Besantis maybe in that conversation. But it's really starting to talk about a lot of tackles to move to guard. Caden Proctor, maybe even Caleb Lomu. Jennings Dunker has had a nice start to the Senior Bowl, by the way, as well. Caleb Tiernan could be a guard. So it's an interesting conversation for sure. But Ioane is a true guard, and he's great. And also feels like a culture fit in Baltimore as well. Bucks at 15. Going Kenyon Sadiq. I feel like teams recently have seen a lot of success with tight ends in this range. Colston Loveland already paying for the draft pick at number 10 by the Bears. Brock Bowers already, I think he was number 12. Tyler Warren, I think, was number 14 of the Colts. All of these guys are looking like slam dunk, home run tight end picks in the first round. Why not Kenyon Sadiq to replace an expiring contract of Cade Otton? Why not? The offense has experienced a lot of injuries over the years at wide receiver. Mike Evans most recently, Chris Godwin always, right? But maybe you don't need to add another receiver to the room. Emeka Ibuka, Jalen McMillan. Maybe a tight end is the way to go about it. Kenyon Sadiq is a chess piece for an offense, a little bit lighter, a little bit smaller, I would say, overall for a tight end. He's like 6'3", 240, but he's got great movement skills for that size. He can go down the field, win contested catches, get open in space. Great player. And yes, they have a lot of needs defensively. I would like to see them get an edge rusher. But Kenyon Sadiq's BPA at a position of need as we get to the Jets at 16. I'm going Jordan Tyson, one of the best players in the draft. Falls a little bit because of the injury stuff, but it's good value here at 16. And we've talked about this really the entire year. The injury history could severely impact where he is ultimately drafted. All it takes is one team. Could Jordan Tyson still be a top 5 or top 10 pick? Absolutely. But could he fall out of the top 20? It's not impossible. Jets grab him here at 16. And their receiving core, I would like to think, is complete with, obviously, wide receiver 1, Garrett Wilson. Jordan Tyson is, a similar type of talent, even though Garrett Wilson is elite. That's what Jordan Tyson could eventually become. But Tyson here, I think, eat in the slot. Or obviously could play the Z. But I like Adonai Mitchell and Garrett Wilson on the outside. Move Tyson and Wilson from the slot to the outside. I think that'd be a fun rotation. Really, you just never know what you're going to get. If you're going to come out to nickel defense and you have your base nickel corner, and sometimes he's facing Jordan Tyson, sometimes he's facing Garrett Wilson, maybe, gets a little bit confusing, doesn't know which tendency to expect. Okay, Jordan Tyson likes a diamond release, blah, 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 whatever, right? If he doesn't know who he's facing on that particular rep until he's lined up across from him, that could create some complications for a defense. And I think it's just another good piece to add to this offense as you build around your future quarterback, which we don't know who that is yet, and neither do the Jets. Lions at 17. I'm going to go Colton Hood. And this is where things start to potentially get off the rails a little bit. I look at their depth chart, and corner is just such a huge glaring hole. And they've got some guys who have come in and done a good job off the street. They've dealt with so many injuries at corner. So many. And this is now for a couple of years. And Terrion Arnold has not been as good as advertised coming out of Alabama. He's not been. Cornerback is a huge need for Detroit, and Colton Hood is one of the best players available. He's got very good size. He's got good athleticism. He had a great year for the Vols. It's a great player. And yes, they could opt to go with a tackle and look to replace Taylor Decker long term. Caleb Lomu makes sense for that reason. Maybe even a Monroe Freeling here. And yeah, edge probably too. But corner stands out to me. And Colton Hood just seems to make sense for the spot as we get to the Vikings at 18. So I've done this before. And I have slotted in here Avion Terrell. But I wonder if the Vikings could consider some other alternatives. Like an interior defensive lineman makes sense to me. Because you look at the age and contract situation for that Vikings interior defensive line. I know they need help in the secondary. Don't get me wrong. I know it. They can address safety in round 2. Javon Hargrave is about to be 33. His final year under contract is 2026. While Jalen Redmond is only about to be 27, he is an exclusive rights free agent. So there's not necessarily a guarantee that he's going to be back, and he has not signed any type of long-term extension. But even if he is back in 2026, there's no guarantee on 2027 and beyond until an extension is signed, and one has not been signed yet. Jonathan Allen just turned 31 and is only under contract for the next 2 years. So, and they do have an out if they wanted to take one following this season or in 2026. So, interior defensive line, you've got some aging vets with expiring contracts, all playing parts. And in this particular draft, for this mock draft that I've done, the best interior defensive linemen are all still available. So could this be a time where the Vikings say, hey, we can address defensive back later. We can grab our favorite interior defensive lineman off the board. Like, it's a slippery slope because we'll just find a good corner later. But I don't know. It's not an impossibility. Now, ESPN lists Jalen Redmond as the Vikings' nose tackle. It's important to note that he is not that. It seems like, and he has done it, but it seems like most often it's Javon Hargrave, who I think seems to be like the first guy out, potentially, of this Minnesota team. So, in my opinion, we're looking for a nose tackle here, and it feels like for the player and the team and the spot, Caden McDonald makes a lot of sense. 6'3", 330, big nose tackle that could make life easier for the rest of the defensive line and linebackers as well. He's a space eater, offers a little bit of pass rush upside as well. I think he's a good player. He's got a chance to go top 20. I think this is pretty good here for the Minnesota Vikings. Like, some might prefer Peter Woods with his pass rush upside, or one of the defensive backs here, whether it's Avion Terrell, Brandon Cisse, or you're talking about maybe even the safeties, Dylan Thieneman, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. Like, there are some good options here. But I also think interior defensive line, it's hard to go wrong, especially with, we're seeing a lot more teams run the football lately. And if you're playing in the same division with the Lions, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, the Bears, and they want to run the football, whether it's DeAndre Swift, Kyle Monangai, Roshan Johnson, Hookem, whoever. They want to run the ball. Packers want to run the ball historically. Josh Jacobs, got to be able to defend the run. Caden McDonald helps you do that. Maybe this is also part of like a division-focused draft pick, but everyone likes to throw the ball too. I know you got to have corners. I get it. But Caden McDonald today. Panthers at 19. Went Cassius Howell here, but I think I just prefer CJ Allen for the pick, truly. Really good player. The Panthers really need linebacker. To me, it's about as simple as that. I think that when you factor in how athletic he is, he's got decent enough size, 6'1", 235. Like, what are we doing here? It just seems like the pick if he's available. Yes, they need to improve their pass rush as well, but CJ Allen to me is probably one that I'm going to like a lot over this draft season. Like the ones I've kind of gravitated towards. Fondo to the Cardinals, Love to the Chiefs, Styles to the Cowboys, and CJ Allen to the Panthers. Those are getting pretty popular for me. And I think Vega Ioane to the Ravens makes a lot of sense too. Obviously, I've done Mendoza to the Raiders quite a few times. Cowboys at 20, coming off of the Sonny Styles pick at 12. The reason I would not necessarily go Cassius Howell here is because the Cowboys already have the smaller edge rusher in Donovan Ezeraku. I think you might want to take a Keldrick Falk if you were looking for an edge rusher with this pick. But you might really want to take a corner. It's a big need. Avion Terrell can play inside or outside. And I think Reddy Stewart is currently their nickel. Avion Terrell is just a big upgrade. A little bit undersized at 5'11", 180, but plays tough. He's so good at jarring the football loose. I don't want to call it a peanut punch necessarily, but that's kind of what it is. And that's a true skill. And it's another way to force turnovers. We know the Cowboys really value that at corner, but here is a guy, though, that is really good at forcing turnovers, whether it's with ball skills or punching the football out skills. Steelers at 21. This was the real big problem because I'll tell you, I went with Ty Simpson the first time around. And it's tough for me because I don't think that Ty Simpson is a home run, slam dunk quarterback prospect. Write it down in the first round. It's a guarantee. Book it. I was encouraged by what we saw in the first half of the season and less encouraged by what we saw in the second half, where the ball placement was just not good. And it's historically difficult for not accurate quarterbacks, inaccurate, I might say, to become accurate in the NFL. That's one thing. If you talk to coaches or hear what they have to say, scouts, accuracy's tough to coach up. It's kind of like you have it or you don't. Now, some guys have reworked their entire throwing mechanics and become deadly accurate, like Josh Allen. That's the exception, not the rule. And Ty Simpson doesn't necessarily have those physical tools. It's going to be tough for the Steelers to grab a quarterback at any point because they've always been a team that's competitive. They play hard. They win enough games. This is not really an organization that comes out and wins 4 or 5 games a year or fewer, and that's their season. They're winning 8, 9, 10, 11 plus every single year. Hasn't been 11 plus every year lately, but the Steelers are always good. They bring in Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy, as much as I think this is a commitment to staying right where you are, the guy wins. I don't always love his clock management decisions, but historically, he wins. And it's tough to do that in the NFL, whether it was the Packers, Cowboys. Mike McCarthy has a great winning percentage. His teams go out and they win 10, 11 games. How are you going to find your quarterback? I'm gonna go Ty Simpson at 21. It's the most valuable position in the sport. You don't know when you're going to be in range to grab one again. If you think Ty Simpson has starter potential, it could be Ty Simpson. It could be. Could it be an interior defensive lineman? No, they're getting old there. Could it be a receiver? It could be. But it also could be Ty Simpson rising up because of the position he plays. And he's got starter potential. It's tough to find those guys. Chargers at 22. I am going to go Caden Proctor to play guard. It's important to note, Caden Proctor here would be playing guard. Now, the offense is going to change this year. Greg Roman has been fired. Mike McDaniel is the new offensive coordinator for the Chargers. So historically, they have gravitated towards bigger, stronger players. Like I think about bringing in Mekhi Becton and trying to make that work. Caden Proctor profiles as a guard. He's athletic. He's insanely strong when he wants to be. He could play guard. He's not so great on an island, but I don't think, I guess it could be processing. Things move a lot faster on the interior, so it's not always a solution for everybody. But Proctor's got that size. There's a feeling that he could move inside to play guard. The interior offensive line options are not amazing. Like it could be Emmanuel Pregnon or Brasantis there, but Caden Proctor's got big-time upside. And also, when there is the inevitable injury, I hate to say it, but when there is the inevitable injury to Rashawn Slater, you want to have somebody that can come in and play tackle at a somewhat acceptable level, and that could be Caden Proctor. He's at least got some experience there, even if the tape has been a little bit shaky. Former hugely hyped up 5-star prospect. He's got potential. Eagles at 23. Yeah, this is kind of how it ended up going last time. I have made some changes, but I'm going to stick with Peter Woods because Jalen Carter's great. Hasn't always been able to stay on the field. I love Moro Ojomo. Hook him, of course, even though he's an Eagle, unfortunately, now. Same with Andrew Makuba. Jordan Davis playing on the 5th-year option. It was picked up in the offseason in August or so. Peter Woods has big-time potential. When the Eagles have had their best teams, they've invested heavily in the defensive line, especially on the interior. Jordan Davis might not be someone you end up bringing back. So developing Peter Woods, who's got sky-high potential, it's like a falling star that's falling right into their lap. It seems to be what happens to the Eagles every year. Woods has incredible potential. And I think if you think about a future of a defensive line with maybe Ojomo, Woods, Carter, that's a pretty dominant trio. And even with Jordan Davis for at least this year, that's a pretty good rotation because you can play 3 interior defensive linemen at a time. Sometimes more if you're going to go with a heavier package like goal line, stop the tush push, whatever. But you're going to play a lot of these guys, and they're going to get tired quickly. You can keep a fresh rotation. It's how these great defensive lines operate. Interior penetration is super valuable. You can quote me on that. Woods has, again, unreal potential and doesn't have to come in and be a starter right away. Can, get developed, get him on a snap count, rotate him in, and it's just immensely valuable, in my opinion, here. So I think this could be what the Eagles decide to do. Browns at 24. I know they have other needs. Tackle of the future, corner. I get it. Browns, though, at 24. I've been going Monroe Freeling here a lot lately. What about Caleb Lomu? They both play left tackle. Lomu's very good as well. Both good athletes. Freeling a little bit bigger, maybe even a little bit more athletic. But Lomu's quite good. And, we talked about it earlier. I think the Browns can grab a receiver and then a tackle later. Tackles were off the board. This is like the next type of tackle run with your Caden Proctor, Caleb Lomu, Monroe Freeling, Blake Miller, right? Like that's probably the next group up here. So maybe the run starts a little bit earlier in real life, but right now it kind of starts in the early 20s. At number 25, Chicago Bears. They need to improve their defensive line in a big way. They need to stop the run. They need help off the edge. Could that mean Keldrick Falk to the Bears? He's got big-time potential, everybody's saying. It's just he's got rare physical tools. And you look at the length, you look at the size overall, 6'6", close to 290. I think he's been great when he's been on the interior. That's kind of where I'd like him to play in the future, but I just don't know that that's going to happen. Like his dream fit is probably 5-tech in a 3-4. Like that's probably, but you're not going to do that every snap. But here I think he can set the edge for the Chicago Bears, help force everything back to the inside, and let linebackers make plays. I mean, part of the Bears' problem defending the run this year is that they just don't have the edge rushers that can do that at a high level. The interior is not amazing either, but they need help. Falk could go a lot earlier than this because, again, the tools are so rare. I don't know how great he's going to test or anything like that, but the length is highly coveted, the size in general, his ability to stop the run. These are all valuable things. I don't know that I love that inside the top 5 or top 10, but at 25, like that's pretty good. And then you can address interior defensive line a little bit later. Maybe Dante Corleone gets to you. Maybe Big Citrus gets to you. Darrell Jackson is a ton of fun as well. So not to say that he's Josh Farmer from last year, just FSU, big, super athletic, long defensive tackle, but there are some similarities there. Who else do I like down the board quite a bit? Not a ton of these guys. It really, I view it similarly to how PFF ranks it. I haven't watched a lot of these guys down here, but figure if they were good enough, they'd probably have my attention by now. Because I have started watching film for the 2026 NFL Draft. There are a lot of fun options. There are a bunch of really good nose tackles. Like, that's where you're going to find guys down the board. Just a Texas Longhorn example, of course, because hook 'em. But Cole Brevard's like 350, right? If you want a big, heavy nose tackle, you can find those guys. However you say Xavier Harris, 6'8", 330. Like, there are some big boys down the board. But, yeah, if you want a nose tackle, you can do that a bit later. It's a really good nose tackle class. But in terms of, like, the actual 3-down players that can rush the passer and defend the run, it's a shorter list. It's Peter Woods, Caleb Banks, Lee Hunter, and that's, like, kind of the group right now, probably. Like, some of these guys can do it a little bit. Kristen Miller maybe more. Darrell Jackson a little bit. Moves well. Did we get a report yet on the Miami interior defensive lineman, if he's going back? I don't see him in here. I guess he's expected to return. Ahmad Moten really, really flashed down the stretch Had a great national championship, really. He does move differently. No word on if he's back yet for sure, but he's another guy that I think could be very good. But yeah, go with the edge here, like he's an actual 3-down player, Keldrick Falk. And it's tough to find that at edge this year, even as well. Bills at 26. Gonna go Denzel Boston. You've got to help Josh Allen. Go get a receiver. You need to. Boston will catch the football. Has the ability to get downfield. Fun option, but we need someone in Buffalo to be catching the ball for Josh Allen. Denzel Boston can do that. Even if I might prefer the explosiveness of KC Concepcion, who is going to be the next pick here. I think Monroe Freeling very much in play, but receiver is such a big need for the Niners. We saw that. Brandon Ayuk is never going to play as a Niner again. I think that's pretty much a given at this point. So you have Slick Rick, Juwan Jennings. The receiver room is unfortunately not great. Like, Ricky Pearsall is very good, is awesome at getting open, but you just need more guys. Texans at 28. Let's get him in there. Let's go with the big-bodied Lee Hunter. Came in higher than this in Daniel Jeremiah's recent mock draft, and I think he had him as IDL 1. I've got him off the board here as the 3rd, but he was very impressive today in Senior Bowl practices. The big issue with him is sometimes he is moved in the run game due to his pad level just because he's a big guy. But flashes as a pass rusher, is a big 2-gapping interior defensive lineman. He's a fun player on a really, really good Texas Tech defensive line. Just if his pad level can stay down, like look at Deion Walker, he could end up being a very, very good player. I say Deion Walker, of course, the Bills. Pad level was so high at Kentucky, and apparently was playing with a big back injury, which contributed to that. Goes to the Bills, ends up looking like a steal. And Lee Hunter, if you could just coach that to just play the leverage game, you're 330 pounds, just try to stay down, he could be a monster type player. And you look at this Texans team, they need help on the interior offensive line for sure. But if the right player's not here, you might just say, hey, we'll keep building into our strength, which is the defense, and the interior defensive line, just due to age and some overall talent, is something they could choose to upgrade. And Lee Hunter could end up being a first-round type player. Rams at 29. So this was C.J. Allen before. That's obviously no longer an option. I gave them Jermod McCoy at 13. I still think linebacker's a need. Just which linebacker goes here? Omar Spates is just not that great in space. That's good to remember. Omar Spates, space. Bad. And this defense has so much potential. They need to upgrade a cornerback. They need to upgrade a linebacker. You have had some great linebacker play. No question. Nate Landman's been a great find. But Omar Spates isn't quite as good. And what the hell? I'll go with my guy from Texas, Ant Hill. Hook him. What a player. It can be really effective as a blitzer. Has shown some chops out in coverage. Would love to see him get a little bit more physical, taking on blocks and using some of his size and athleticism, because he's not small. 6'3", close to 240, and it's quite a good blitzer. So this would be a fun defensive scheme for him to join. Obviously some great pass rushers in there already, but Anthony Hill gives you another weapon as a blitzer, and I'm sure Chris Shula, if he stays in LA, would certainly benefit from that. Patriots at 30. It's another guy that has had a good day one of Senior Bowl practices, and I'm recording this after that. T.J. Parker, one of the few 3-down players off the edge in this draft, 6'3", 260, but has the length that maybe some others in this class lack, and that could make him quite valuable. It was a down 2025 from what we thought he could be following 2024, but he's still got good potential. He's showing it off at the Senior Bowl right now, and that could get him drafted in the first round. To a team like the Patriots that needs to improve their pass rush, even though they got it going in the postseason. These weather games, I think, helped with that a little bit, and the offensive lines they played. The Chargers are horrendous, and then obviously the weather kind of got crazy, and if you get a lead, you force the other team to pass, especially in inclement weather. You can get after it a little bit. So the Patriots, I think, have played great, but you could use some more youth and some more talent off the edge, and that's where TJ Parker comes in. Broncos at 31. Anthony Hill no longer an option here. That's who I had going earlier. So where do the Broncos pivot? I don't know that corner is as much of a need as I'm hearing it is. I think Riley Moss is better than he gets credit for. I think receiver might be the most clear pick here for the Broncos given the available talent on the board. You could consider a Caleb Banks with John Franklin Myers set to hit free agency. You could consider a tight end. There's not one to take, really. You know, if the other Oregon tight end jumped in, maybe so, but that has not happened. And linebacker, it's like you could take Galladay or Trotter probably, but it's a little bit early. Receiver is a big need. Guys haven't been able to stay good and stay healthy. And you could use more in the room. And I feel like based on what Sean Payton values, based on what they didn't really get with Troy Franklin, you could use a big-bodied, vertical, field-stretching receiver with good ball skills and with good movement skills. Like, I'm not sure Chris Brazzell is the best receiver prospect of all time, but he might be from the University of Tennessee in the Josh Heupel era. That's a possibility, because I don't know that he is just tall and fast. He is those things, so he's Troy Franklin in that way, but even though he's bigger than Troy Franklin, he actually has ball skills. He actually has the ability to go outside of his frame and catch the ball. He's a good player, and even though we haven't seen it a ton at Tennessee, he is fairly sudden at the top of his routes for a big-bodied receiver. Could this be someone that could sneak into the first round? Maybe. I don't think it's a fit for every team, but for the Broncos, I think it is. I think it is a fit. Seahawks at 32. Man, everyone's given him Brandon Cisse lately, but it's how the board fell. I don't know that this team needs a ton of help off the edge. Maybe Emmanuel Pregnon. That's an option. I think a big safety could be fun because you have a lot of defensive backs in Seattle set to be free agents, which is why you can make the argument for a corner here as well. Cisse is going to test off the charts. It's got good size. I'm just going to go Brandon Cisse here. That one's a little bit chalky. I've heard that a lot of people are doing that lately, but it just makes sense. It does. So that is my mock draft for Mock Draft Tuesday today. Let me know how much you hate it down in the comments section below. I'm sure you did not need my permission there. And I will see you in the next one. Take it easy.